Hello, TRAX users. Welcome to Getting Started with Ambassador Animals. As with all TRAX modules, there are many items you can customize to fit your facility's unique programming needs. But let's look at the steps every team will take as you get started or revamp your use of this module. Start here. Get organized. Use this template to work with your team and create your animal and handler list. Some things to consider. The animal list. You'll want to include the house name and species and ID. Do any of your animals have limited availability? If they are only available, for example, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we can set up blocking tasks to limit their checkout availability. If they are available any day, you can record the rest required after checkout. If these animals are not currently a part of your collection, you can use the batch acquisition tool to add them to your inventory. The first item you will configure will be handling groups. All animals will be assigned to at least one handling group. Handling groups allow you to track your staff's training for working with different ambassadors. This can be as simple or as detailed as you'd like to fit your facility's needs. Borrowing from Colorado ski areas, you may think about this in terms of beginner, green, intermediate blue, and advanced black diamond. You could also group animals by taxonomic groups like reptiles, birds, etc. The sky's the limit and should match your animal handling training program. Request groups can be used for scheduling if you choose to use that tool, or for limiting checkout for specific programs. For example, if your gray parrot is only available for on-site checkout, you can create an on-site request group which will limit its use. Lastly, you can include program, event, and theme information to aid in using the request wizards for scheduling purposes. Next, complete the Handlers tab to collect information on the current level of training for each of your handlers. Any current TRAX user will be available to assign to a handling group, and you can add additional users to TRAX at a standard user level or volunteer access only. This module also allows you to catalog and check out biofacts. If your facility would like to include these, we can offer additional information and training. The last recommended item to consider when getting organized is whether or not you will be scheduling animals and assigning them to a handler ahead of time, or if you'd like them to be checked out on demand. If you choose to use scheduling, animals can also be available on demand. You may want to learn more before making this decision, and you can always add scheduling later if you want to keep things simple. Now that you're organized, let's move on. Consider this infographic to help you navigate setup and configuration areas. We'll walk through a sample setup, and I'll touch on details that may arise along the way. We begin by setting up handling groups. You'll find this under the collection configuration. Insert the handling groups you use for training purposes. Include additional usage details if available. Next, assign the animals that belong to each group. In the option list, set up your training status and handling allowed status. Then head over to the Animal Handlers module. Start on the All Users tab and batch select the staff members that will be checking out ambassadors. Change their status to active. Assign users to the handling groups for which they are trained and approved to check out. Then go to the Handlers tab and change the status to trained. You can continue to refine this list and insert other statuses, such as approved to be trained or mentor. Theoretically, with a few system preferences set, you can begin using the Checkout app in its simplest form. I'd like to highlight a few more features that programs have found useful to refine tracking and reporting on ambassador animals. We'll first follow the path for a program that doesn't schedule animals ahead of time. Your first option is to decide whether or not you would like to limit animals to specific programs for checkout. If so, you will go to Configure Request Groups. After you configure the request groups, you go to the Ambassador Animals List tab. and you'll assign each animal to the appropriate groups. Next, decide if you would like to include a reason for checkout. If so, you'll go to Configuration, Inventory, and the Inventory section. Select the option list for Entity Task Category. Insert the items you would like to appear as reasons for checkout. Some examples may be on-site programs or off-site programs. If you would like to include a mandatory rest period after an animal has been checked back in, create that task category here as well. With just 2 more tabs, we'll be ready to go. Let's take a look at System Preferences. You have a few options when it comes to how you would like the animal name displayed, either animal name and then species, or species first and then animal name. You have some options when it comes to the color theme of your checkout app. This is where you will indicate whether or not you use scheduling. You select No, everything is checked out on demand, or Yes, and then Show scheduled items first. For this example, we're selecting No. By selecting the checkbox for Enable Grouping by Category, this will allow you to choose from request groups. You can also include a field for rest needed at check-in. You can include an option to add notes at the time of checkout, and we'll look at those snippets in just a moment. If you configured task categories to indicate a reason for use, you will need to check this box. Then, select which task categories are included for selection on the app here. And if you have checked the box for rest needed above, you will choose rest from this list of task categories. The last 2 items are unnecessary if you are not using scheduled programs. Select Save and move on to the Snippets tab. There are 2 types of snippets: snippets during checkout and snippets for check-in. Some facilities use snippets during time of checkout to collect more information about the audience or location of the presentation. Upon check-in, you may want to gather information about the attendance for the program. Congratulations, you are ready to use the Checkout app to check out animals on demand. Now let's look at scheduling. Head back to the System Preferences tab and change this item to Yes, Show scheduled items first. Be sure to have at least 1 request group configured and decide if you would like to include a reason for checkout. The Program Request Wizard will collect information about program area, program names, and optional events and themes. These categories are currently used to make the best selection of animals for scheduling and isn't stored for reporting purposes yet. Start with Option List for program area and insert general items for selection, such as on-site or off-site education areas. If you would like to include the optional event and theme items, create items for these option lists. Now go to the Programs tab and insert program names. Indicate the program area and type and optional defaults for event, theme, duration, and animals. Head back to the System Preferences tab and scroll down to the item Task Category used for scheduled programs. If you're not using the option for a reason for checkout, you will want to indicate a task category here. As long as your animals are assigned to request groups, you are ready to start scheduling animals and handlers for future programs. For more information about the Program Request Wizard and steps taken to schedule animals and handlers, check out the resources provided at the end of the presentation or set up a virtual call with the TRAX client support team. I'll leave you with one advanced move to consider. Setting up a recurring blocking task will limit an animal's availability for checkout. Insert a new task for an animal. For example, if they are available Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, I will create a blocking task for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I start with Friday and timestamp from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. I'm sure to check the blocking task box, and then I set this up as a weekly recurrence on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This animal will not be available on the Checkout app these days unless you dismiss or edit the task. Once you are set up for operation and using the app for checkout, we are standing by to help you build reports to monitor animal use and handler training plans. Let's recap. Setting up the Ambassador Animal module can be pain-free when you 1. Get organized, 2. Assign animal and handlers to handling groups, and 3. Consider the following: request groups, reasons for checkout, scheduling, and limiting availability with blocking tasks. Once you're set up, you'll be ready to visit this playlist and learn more about the checkout, program requests, and reporting features. We hope to hear from you soon and assist you in implementing the Ambassador Animals module.